into something.
Break your legs. Is there any way?
There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, let's see. Let me get here. Okay, we get that now. Okay, here we go. Ready? Nice. All that. Perfect. Great. Excellent. Perfect. Couple more.
Remember the old days where you take coffee?
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's like you check your late. Let's take pictures somewhere.
Yeah, it's in New Rochelle. All right, here we go. Perfect. All right, hold that. Nice. Excellent. Very good. Beautiful. Couple more. Two more. One more for the road. Okay. Next. Hold on. Next.
Alright, is everybody in from outside? Hopefully. Okay. I'm gonna have to lower this down.
That's what you want to get in the morning. You know, I love you, Mom. This is for your son who's sailing somewhere in Long Island Sound. It's going to be a beautiful day.
I don't know if there's a way to pull this thing down, but is there? Okay. All right. I won't touch anything. Sorry. Good morning, everybody. Here we are for the fourth in a Leadership and Sustainability Speaker Series. This is sort of annoying. Can I do what? Can you pull this? Can this thing go down? Or we're going to miss everything? Nice, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, it's just awkward because. Okay. All right, Kevin, don't sit because the first thing I'm going to do, I'll do my introductions later. I'm going to have the Deputy County Executive, Kevin Plunkett, come and say a few words on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Danny, very much. It's been my honor to represent our County Executive, Rob Astorino, at the Leaders in Sustainability Speakers Series here. And this is the fourth time I've had the privilege to be here to be part of the program and part of the welcoming for all of you. Today's topic, as I understand it, is growing a green workforce. And I think I was talking outside to somebody, and we started talking about how there's a momentum. There's a momentum for all of our employers to work with their team to create a green workforce. And our panelists today, I'm sure, who are all accomplished entrepreneurs themselves, together with our host, Marcia Gordon from the Business Council, will share with you some great ideas on how we can continue to do that. You know, it's almost like recycling. When I was younger, much younger, you know, you'd have one garbage can, and everything went into it. Now, I think every house has 3 or 4 different recyclable receptacles so that you can put different types of recyclables in them, and we're all very conscious of that, and it's grown into our whole being and our whole way of life. And I think what we're trying to do with our Leaders in Sustainability program, together with the Green Business Challenge and the Green Business Certification programs, is to make sure that this consciousness continues. And I know from the county's perspective, I'm very pleased and proud to be part of that initiative, and I'm always pleased and proud to be part of this forum and this speaker series. I want to give a great shout out to our team that puts this together. Danny over here, Scott Fernqvist, and Yana. Where's Yana? Right there. So thank you for all you do. And certainly Con Edison, our sponsor, Jane Solnick, is here. And it wouldn't be done without the leadership of our Westchester Business Council team, and Marcia Gordon is here. So to the panelists, thank you. Marcia, thank you. Have a great day today, and let's all move together with this whole consciousness that we have to have our employer and employees pulling together for a green workforce, because we'll make Westchester brighter and greener. So thank you very much.
panel, you want to say a quick welcome? I'll say a quick welcome. Yeah. We have you on the calendar for a quick welcome. So.
Happy to do that. It's always great to see, to be at the Green Business Challenge programs and the Green Business programs because we see different businesses. And, Kevin and Danny and I, we all go to a lot of different events, and sometimes you think they're the same 300 people doing everything in Westchester County and the Hudson Valley. But what we see here is that it's not the same people, it's different people. And there's a diversity of industries that have all come together around this green business. And I think that makes our economy, our culture, what we're doing, what we're all trying to accomplish in Westchester and the Hudson Valley, even more relevant. So that's the reason that the Business Council of Westchester really is so proud of being the home for this program. Danny and Scott and Yana, your leadership is incredible. The partnership with Westchester County is very special. People talk about a public-private partnership. This is it. And it's it because it's based on a great working relationship, on trust. It's not about egos, and it's about just working together to do something good. And we couldn't do it without Con Edison and our other sponsors. So thank you all. I'm going to now go back to my panel role. And thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Marcia. So Jane, I'd like to invite up Jane Solnick of Con Edison, our platinum level sponsor since the very beginning of this program and an amazing partner.
Thank you, Danny. Oh, my goodness, this was done for Kevin. Okay. As Marcia pointed out, first of all, I'm delighted to be here to represent Con Edison. But as Marcia pointed out, we do a lot of things in the county, and we see different groups. And I like to take this opportunity because people say, well, what does Con Edison have to do with this? They want to sell electricity anyway. They don't want to be conservative. But that, in fact, is not true. We have been involved with this program. It is a great public-private partnership between Westchester County, the Business Council, and Con Edison, and the other members that have participated. And the reason being for us is we want to drive conservation and energy efficiency. In fact, we have a group of people outside who are more than happy to talk to you about the programs we have. There's a number of people in the audience who have taken advantage of those programs, but we want to get the message out more so. You don't want us to build more infrastructure in your backyard or anybody else's backyard. That's always an issue with people, but the demands for power have increased, as we all know. Everybody's got their gadgets and everything, and we've gotten very used to the lights being on. Back in the day, people would deal with brownouts and stuff, but it has much more of an impact on us. So we encourage everybody to take steps to be energy efficiency. We want you to keep your bills down, and we don't want to we're going to keep our infrastructure in good working condition, but we don't want to have to add just because we're all gobbling up too much power. And the other thing that I want to point out is that we are in great partnership with Westchester Community College, as it was mentioned here, because Westchester Community College, also a program that Con Edison does with them, is what we call a STEM program: science, technology, engineering, and management. And the reason being is because, we work here and live here as Con Edison employees, and so we want to build up the workforce who can ultimately, hopefully, be employees for us. So thank you for being here, and please stop by and see all of our people out at the energy efficiency table. They'd love to tell you about our programs.
Thanks, Jane. Okay, so I don't think I said this before. I'm Danny Glazer on behalf of my colleagues Scott Fernqvist and Yana Petrakova and our partners and home, the Business Council of Westchester and Westchester County Government. We are so happy to welcome all of you here this morning talking about the green workforce, and it really is a force here in Westchester County, and we are so excited about that, to be part of that. We are very grateful to Westchester Community College for hosting this event. This is the fourth in the series at this LEED Gold Gateway Center. Can you go to the sponsor slide, please? Oh. So just here, I figured that out. So the program began in 2009 as the Westchester Green Business Challenge, and we've had over 300 companies take the challenge over the years. There's an online scorecard. We've been hosting educational events like this since 2009. We have an annual recognition event and awards ceremony. We're having our 6th annual, and we give out awards, and it's the most amazing evening. It's on June 8th, so if you'd like to sign up, please let me know. And then in January 2014, we were like toying with the idea. We're like, we think companies want to go to the next step. And like, would anybody care about being Westchester Green Business Certified? Well, let's test the waters. And they do. So we have 60 companies. Oh, sorry. We have 60 companies now that are in the program going for certification, 20 of which have achieved certification. So we're very proud of that. And it's a rigorous program. So anyone who's in it knows that it's a little challenging. So happy to announce our sponsors, Con Edison, our platinum sponsor, as I mentioned. Jane, the support is incredible. We have 2 gold sponsors, and both are here today. Westchester Community Foundation, we are so grateful for your support. And Agera Energy became a gold sponsor a few weeks ago, and Sarah is on our panel, and it's just so exciting, and we really appreciate it. A silver sponsor for several years is Rexon. And we love our bronze sponsors, Allied Converters, Atlantic Westchester, the Blue Book Network, C.W. Brown, Renee's here today, Diamond Properties, New York Presbyterian, and Regeneron. Sam is here today from Regeneron. So these are the organizations that have achieved certification as of today. And it's really cool because we've gone to all of their campuses. We actually have a couple of more to do, and we celebrate. We have these certification celebrations at their office or place of business, and it's really, really wonderful. We're very proud of them. So I'm going to give you a moment. Here's the first half, but we have 60 incredibly diverse organizations that are in the program. They're all working really hard. And they're doing just amazing things, and we help them. We speak to them on the phone. We'll go into their place of business, and you'll learn today that we're going to help them on a whole other level. I'll give you a second to look at the second one. We've had a lot of new signups lately. Got us to 60. We're like, yay! It seems like a really nice number. So the new program. So this is something that has been in discussion for a while. Yana really thought this through for us that, as she was working with companies, so like, can we get an intern? Can we get some help and have somebody come in and help us with the program? Because you do have to collect bills and information and have green team meetings, and there is work that needs to go in. And, put together greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So, and thinking about green jobs and the fact that we would love to train and introduce, college students, recent grads, or others who are interested to learn about this program and be able to go in and help our members. So that's really what this whole new initiative is going to be about. We are going to have an intensive training, and we are going to send these kids out, or young adults out into the workforce and to help our members. So we're very excited about that. So now I'd like to introduce Walter Retcher. He's our next speaker. He's the VP of Marketing and Special Projects for Hospitality Resource Group. Walter leads the Westchester Putnam Business Sector Partnership, a public-private partnership formed by the Regional Workforce Development Board to promote job growth and workforce development for 7 key industry sectors, including the green business sector. Walter has over 30 years of experience as an innovative business leader, marketing executive, entrepreneur, and educator. And Walter is Vice President, Marketing and Special Projects for the Hospitality Resource Group. So welcome, Walter.
Good morning. I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes this morning, 20 to 30 minutes, Scott, is that right? Or 2 to 3? I got the zeros messed up a little bit. Welcome, everybody. And I have been a passionate supporter of green as long as I can remember. I worked for MCI back in the 90s when we were on King Street, and we developed a national telecommuting program as a major initiative to cut greenhouse gases and make companies a little more efficient. But what we're doing now, I think, is really exciting in looking at this whole idea of business sector partnerships, which Marcia mentioned. You know, the way things are getting done in Westchester, which is really encouraging, is that public-private partnerships really work when you have the right people involved for the right reasons and they're motivated. So what we're working on now is something called Career Pathways, which Scott and Danny and I are starting to talk about. I want to introduce first briefly O.J. Iser. She works for the Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board. And it's pretty unique in that for the first time we're bringing together businesses, local government, and education partners to look at how do we develop a workforce who are aware of what the career paths are. As you talk to young people, and you hear it all the time, millennials and Generation X, Y, Z, and whatever else is coming next. And the good news is they're much more aware of their environment and they're passionate about it. It's really exciting. That's the good news. The challenge, though, is that many of them don't know what career paths to take. They don't know, you know, how do I participate in this economy? You know, is there a college program or is there a business where I can intern, where I can get exposed to some of these things and do well by doing good? So in and of itself, that sounds like a reasonable career path, but many of them aren't aware, you know, can I go work for a C.W. Brown and do something, you know, in construction, but at the same time be green oriented? Or on the other level or extreme, in a good sense, you know, Solar City's got a major business, of course, here, and, you know, solar panels are going up everywhere. You know, how do I feel about getting up on a roof? Or can I look at marketing or sponsorship or other types of businesses where I can participate? So what we're looking to do in the business sector partnership is to bring more employers together and look at what their career paths actually look like, develop and design that, and then take that back out to the educators and say, all right, here's the kind of programs that are in demand. And the good news is you'll increase enrollment and you'll start preparing people to enter the workforce in meaningful ways. And we'll keep the brain drain from happening where people are educated in this great community and our colleges and then go to the North Carolinas or the Sun Belt somewhere else. And there's a lot of opportunity right here. But it's on us to put together that strategy to make that work. So you'll be hearing more from us going forward in how we can develop and strategize that and sit down and look at, you know, where those opportunities may be, get some good young people to work in that environment, and we think we could do some really great and exciting things. So we're pretty excited about it, as you can see. But thank you very much for your time this morning. We talk more with you going forward, and you know, appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. That was perfect setup, actually, but I'm going to take it a little bit further. So I'm Scott Fernqvist. I run this program on behalf of the county with Danny Glazer, and thank you all for being here. I found the clicker. Okay. So I thought I would start the discussion with the question, you know, what is a green job? What do you think of, you know, when you hear the term green job? Do you think of, as Walter alluded to, PV solar installers, you know, someone who works in a wind farm, a farmer, maybe an organic farmer or a agricultural inspector, someone who works in biofuels, a conservationist, a purchaser for a farm? Maybe you think of an environmental planner or an engineer or a scientist. We actually have a great cluster of engineering firms actually in Westchester that focus on remediation environmental issues. Do you think of architects or energy efficient building inspectors, boiler makers, carpenters, energy auditors, heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration mechanics and installers, plumbers. These are certainly all green jobs. But it's much more than that, as Walter and others have alluded to this morning. And I just want to go over a couple of things before we start talking about green jobs. What do others think a green job is? So let's look at the New York State definition. A green employee is a worker primarily engaged in producing green products or services, such as photovoltaic installer, an installation worker, or a wind turbine assembler. So they have a very narrow definition. A green employer is an employer engaged in a targeted green economic activity, such as retrofitting buildings or generating power from wind energy. This is actually taken from a 2009 New York State Green Job Study, which is the last time in New York State that really green jobs have been looked at in the aggregate, and they've actually tried to measure green jobs. So while green touches really every sector of the economy, this study really only focused on agriculture, conservation, education, energy, transportation, and a few other areas of activity. So they looked at it, and they looked specifically at these clusters, and they found that out of all construction jobs, for example, which there's about 240,000, they found that 34% of those jobs are actually green by nature. Building services, professional services, and component manufacturing had the smallest percentage of green jobs. But again, this was a very narrow study, and it didn't really capture the total and depth of green jobs in the New York State economy. The federal government did something similar, and their definition is a little bit better in that it opens the door to other types of jobs that would really truly be green. So they actually said that green jobs are jobs in businesses that produce goods or provide services that benefit the environment or conserve natural resources. So that's obviously a much broader definition. And they also classified green jobs as jobs in which the worker's duties, regardless of industry, involve making their establishment's production processes more environmentally friendly. So this is definitely a more inclusive definition. And they found back in 2011, and these are the most recent stats, unfortunately, and I'll get to that in a second. They found that 3.1 million people in the United States are employed in the production of goods and services that benefit the environment. This represents 2.3% of private sector jobs, and interestingly enough, a greater percentage of public sector jobs. They found that construction had the largest employment rate increase from 7 to 8.9%, and that manufacturing actually had the most green jobs, unlike the New York study, which found manufacturing to be one of the lowest producers of green jobs. They found that manufacturing was the highest. So, I don't know if you remember, but back in 2013, we had something called sequestration. And budget times were really difficult. Unfortunately, a lot of cuts had to be made to the federal budget. So back in 2013, President Obama actually ordered an across-the-board cutting of the essentially all products within the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that measured green jobs. So the reason we don't have any current up-to-date federal statistics, unfortunately, is because of budgetary issues at the federal level. So it's quite interesting that the most recent statistics on green jobs in this country are over 5 years old. So the data at a federal level, unfortunately, and I was looking for it as part of this presentation, doesn't really exist. So unfortunately, these statistics are old, incomplete, and really based on kind of data definitions based on what we thought green jobs were back in 2011. And these things are constantly changing, and we're going to be talking about that today with our panel, and I will get to that shortly, don't worry. So our definition at the Westchester Green Business Program, we have a very inclusive definition of what a green job is and can look like in today's economy. We believe, and we see it in our day-to-day work, green jobs being found and created in organizations across all industry sectors that have committed to integrating sustainability into their operations. So here's a list of some of the sectors basically represented in our program today. So the encouraging thing, and the good news, is that the demand for green employers as well as employees has really never been higher. So in summary, what we're trying to do through the Green Business Program and what's core to our mission, and actually part of the reason why NYSERDA awarded us a grant to expand our program, is we are very dedicated to fueling the demand for green jobs, green products, and green services by helping organizations in any industry become more environmentally responsible. So we feel that we are building the internal capacity within organizations, increasing skill levels, to create green jobs and expertise within an organization to address environmental concerns. And we feel that we're also enhancing an organization's level of competitiveness, efficiency, also helping the bottom line. And hopefully, in turn, they can reinvest that money in people, technologies to become an even greener organization. And what we're talking today is all about green workforce. So we feel that we are hopefully helping move that discussion further and build the skills that are necessary for the jobs of today as well as tomorrow. So I'm very happy to introduce the panelists who have been so patiently sitting on this stage. And I'd like to start by introducing, who really doesn't need much of an introduction, but I'm going to introduce her anyway, Dr. Marcia Gordon. I feel like we've done this. So let's start with Dr. Marcia Gordon. As the leader of the county's largest and most influential business organization, Dr. Marcia Gordon brings more than 25 years of community, commerce, and leadership experience to the Business Council of Westchester. She's a sought-after speaker, panelist, and media expert, and widely considered to be the authority on the business climate in Westchester County, and is regularly the go-to person on legislative and regulatory issues throughout the Hudson Valley. Top-level business, community, and political leaders throughout the county and New York State count on Marcia's counsel and expertise to move forward pro-business agendas in economic development, educational reform, workforce development, as well as legislative initiatives and business growth. Most important, at every opportunity, she is regarded as the most effective connector of businesses of all sizes and community-based organizations, embracing the diversity of the business community the BCW represents. Marcia has a BA from Brooklyn College, an MBA from Marist College, and a doctorate in business administration from Pace University. She has a daughter, Bonnie, and lives in Greenburgh with her husband, Eli. So welcome, Marcia. Sharon Rowe is the CEO and founder of Eco Bags Products Incorporated. Eco Bags is the original reusable bag brand. Sharon is recognized as a thought leader in social innovation, sustainable, and responsible production since 1989. She speaks regularly on building profitable, mission, and value-aligned businesses, believing that businesses can be a force for good. She actively campaigns for bans on single-use plastics and is thrilled that New York City is about to pass legislation on this. Did. I'm sorry, this is an outdated bio. Sharon has been featured in Time Magazine, Glamour Magazine, and in Bag It, the award-winning documentary. Eco Bags is also featured on Oprah and on their first dedicated Earth Day show. Sharon has received numerous awards, including the National 2012 Enterprising Women Award, Westchester Business Council Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and the WEDC Lillian Vernon Award. Sharon's a member of the Women's Presidents Organization and serves on 2 boards, the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater and Westchester Collaborative Theater. Eco Bags is also a certified B Corporation. So welcome, Sharon. Sarah Kelly is our next panelist, and she is the Vice President of Marketing for Agera Energy. She is responsible for the development and implementation of marketing and communication strategies for the company, which include new product development, digital and print advertising, website development, lead generation, and long-term growth strategies. Sarah has held various marketing and operational positions within the energy industry for over 15 years. Most recently, she was the Sunwave Gas and Power's Director of Operations, where she established the Canadian company within several U.S. states and successfully launched their U.S. sales and operations. She holds an undergraduate and graduate degree from the University of Hartford. And while Sarah was born and raised in Westchester County, although she has lived in various states along the East Coast, Westchester, New York is where her heart is. Welcome, Sarah. So last but certainly not least is Lori Tripoli. She is the Academic Department Chair in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences at Kaplan University, where she oversees the graduate and undergraduate environmental policy and management programs and the Master of Science in Legal Studies program. She is also a longtime writer and editor who focuses on environmental and legal issues. Lori was a founding editor of Sustainability, the journal of record, and was editor of the New York Law Journal Westchester edition. Her work has appeared in Environmental Compliance and Litigation Strategy, Leaders Product Liability Law and Strategy, Of Counsel, Inside Litigation, Career World, Women's World, the Almanac of the Federal Judiciary, and many other publications, both legal and of general interest. Lori is a former employee of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and her book, Contemporary Law Office Management, was published by Aspen Wolters Kluwer in 2011. Lori earned her BA in Political Science from the George Washington University and her JD from the Georgetown University Law Center. She tweets at EnviroEditor and at Legally Lori, and she lives in North Salem. Welcome, Lori. Thank you so much. So I'm very excited about this discussion today, and I just thought we could start with sort of the big picture, and maybe each of you can also just say, I've introduced you with your bios, but in your own words, describe your organization and how you first became connected or started working on the topic of environmental sustainability and our topic today, which is really green jobs and green workforce. So who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, thanks, Marcia.
So I think many people here are familiar with the Business Council of Westchester. We're a business membership organization, and our mission is really economic vitality for everyone in Westchester County. And we really focus on two levels. We're on a very strategic, broad-based level. We work very hard to make sure that we are a community that is prosperous. And so we are about prosperity for our community. And we do that by making sure that we have a positive business environment in which all of you can grow your businesses. Whether it's economic development, whether it's legislative action, whether it's workforce development, with which we're very much involved, public policy. This is really what we work on a community-based level. And then for our over 1,000 members, ranging from the big companies, Regeneron, MasterCard, IBM, to many community organizations, including healthcare and colleges, to entrepreneurial companies, to over 100 not-for-profits, and solo entrepreneurs, and small businesses. We are about really helping them develop relationships to increase their business development and be profitable. So through the Business Council of Westchester, prosperity for the community and profitability for our members go hand in hand.
Thank you. What I want to say is about eco bags. We got a great intro. Thank you very much. Is that we're a niche brand and we're local. We're local with an international reach. And so what we started about 26 years ago with basically me saying, I'm tired of plastic bags, single-use bags, because I had a passion for the river and I had a passion for clean air and clean water, has turned into an international movement. And what was then is not what is now. What is now is a huge amount of opportunities and connections because you're part of a larger ecosystem of people moving in the same direction. And I started as an entrepreneur. I didn't know that until 15 years later when they came up with programs for entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, if you have an idea and you're profitable, you must be an entrepreneur. Although I don't know that that definition holds in Silicon Valley right now, all the time. But anyway, the idea is that the thing is that you can take a project, a passion project, and use your skills to drive a concept that's attached to a service or a product to drive social change. That's a big thing. It's a really big thing, and it can take a really long time to take root, but there's a lot taking root right now. And I'd like to say that when I started EcoBags, and I'll tell you more about that later, it was a very barren landscape, but now it's very rich and very fertile. And with people like Danny and her team and the Business Council getting behind a lot of this, there's just, you have to decide which seeds you want to plant.
Thank you.
Before I get into Agera Energy and what we do, I'd like to first give a round of applause to all the organizations in the audience that have completed the challenge. I know that it's challenging, that's why it's called a challenge, but for Agera, it took us a couple months to get there. And for the organizations that are in the audience that are still in the process, keep going, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Danny and her team are there if you need them. We definitely leaned on them as an organization, and we got done in, I would say, a few quick months. It was challenging, but we did it. Agera became involved in the topic of sustainability because one day Danny showed up at our door and was like, hey, do you guys want to participate? No, we really did it for two reasons. One, for our customers, and two, for the community. Agera Energy is a licensed third-party supplier of electricity and natural gas in about 16 deregulated states across the U.S. We mainly focus on serving residential and commercial customers across the U.S. We had a need, and our customers came to us looking for a product, a green product. So back in February of this year, we launched Agera's Pure Wind product. Our Pure Wind product actually allows customers to sign up with electricity supply with us, and then also match either 50 or 100% of their usage with renewable energy certificates, also known as RECs. And then also for the community, we are a Westchester-based company located in Briarcliff Manor, and we decided that this was the next step in becoming a green organization to be a part of sustainability.
Thank you.
I think, excuse me, some ways that my career has sort of mirrored what's happened historically with respect to environmental regulation and management in the last 25 to 30 years. I started working at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency headquarters in the 1980s during the Reagan administration after doing an internship for a New York congressman. And at that time, first of all, environmental regulation was still relatively new. Most of the laws in the United States had been passed in the 70s, and then they were actually strengthened largely in the 1980s. But you were seeing sort of a lot of combat between the regulated community and the regulators, and it was sort of, you know, many different sides were claiming to wear white hats at that time. Sort of as time went on, we shifted from sort of a combative attitude where everyone was suing each other to realizing environmental regulation is here to stay. We're going to actually have to comply with it. So that in the 90s, I started working more on compliance issues. And then thanks to both environmental groups as well as sort of economic conditions, you know, the regulated community also began to realize that in addition to having cleaned up their problems and having managed their problems, that there was a lot to be gained from actually moving beyond compliance, which has sort of led us to sustainability. So I won't bore you with more about my personal career, but we'll just say a little bit about Kaplan University. I was fortunate, I started working at Kaplan as an adjunct instructor in 2004. We're online. We have about 40,000 students now, and I oversee the bachelor's and the master's environmental policy and management programs. And it's been great to see the development of that program. We started probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been wonderful because our students are all over the country and we're entirely online, and it offers a lot of opportunity to non-traditional students who couldn't get out to their local community college for whatever reason.
Thank you, Lori. So, Marcia? Sure. I'm going to go back to you. So, I'd just like to ask you more about, you know, Westchester's brand as a place for green business, and what you're hearing from employers out there in terms of what they're looking for. Sort of, you hear a lot, I'm sure, in terms of the business climate and what's the landscape, you know, for businesses. What are they looking for in their employees, you know, in Westchester, and how does environmental sustainability, you know, play into that?
Well, I think I'm going to give a different answer now than I would have a few years ago. Because a few years ago, when we started this program, we talked about, branding Westchester as a place as a good place, a good place that's doing the right things. Right now, it's a matter of business survival, and I'll tell you why. The number one thing that I hear from my members is that their biggest business challenge is recruiting talent. It's the talent pipeline. And especially recruiting young people. Millennial seems to be the word, every other word out of our mouth. And guess what? Those young people want green workplaces. They want to work in a place that is environmentally responsible, that's doing the right thing, where they can feel comfortable every day, and that's what employees want. And the employers who don't have that, who are not about meeting the needs of recruiting new people, are not going to attract the best and the brightest, and their business just isn't going to grow.
That's amazing. So I actually put together a slide to sort of back that up because I saw this
Thank you, Scott.
becoming part of the discussion because I actually was doing some research, and unlike the federal government and the state government, there are organizations out there that are actually measuring attitudes about green products and that sort of thing. So Nielsen actually in 2015, just last year, when the economy was really not doing so well, unemployment, especially among the younger generation, continued to be high. They did a study, and they found that actually despite low wages and high unemployment rates, millennials are willing to spend more for products that are environmentally friendly. And in 2014, just 1 year before, the number was 55%. In just 1 year, in 2015, their number went up to 72%. So there's clear demand to not only buy these products, but to work at organizations that share these values in terms of a commitment to environmental sustainability. So I think that's where I want to go next with this discussion. And since we're talking specifically about environmentally friendly products, I guess Sharon, can we talk about, this looks like really good news for your business as someone who sells eco bags,
Yeah.
which I personally love and have been using. And
Thank you. You're hired.
this bodes well for your company. So can you talk about, you mentioned you started a business in 1989 and the landscape has really changed.
Yeah.
This seems to be a great trend.
Yeah, this
you.
is a trend that's been happening for 26 years. I've been in the natural product segment pre-Whole Foods for so long, and I've watched companies come up, I've watched them get purchased. I see everything moving into the mainstream now, and I see the demand, and I'll just give you two examples from a jobs perspective. Number one would be my son, who just quit his job. You'd think he had the perfect job drawing cartoons for a major publisher in New York City, but he was so ground out, literally grinding, that he bought a sailboat, and he outfitted it with solar panels, and he's sailing up to Martha's Vineyard, his aunt has a mooring, for the summer to do construction work because he wanted quality of life. And that's what he chose over just pushing through and grinding and trying to do that, work harder more. It's not about harder more, it's more efficient and more core aligned. The next thing I'll say is I recently hired a younger worker. Most of my workers in my office are like me, local. A lot of people are local. And we did a core values exercise, and the reason to do that was to find out, are we aligned so we could get more traction? Really a business exercise. We want to make sure we're all on the same page. And it was really revealing that we are. Everybody believes in clean air, in clean water, in clean practices in terms of, bring your own lunch, just basic practices on a day-to-day basis. And our youngest employee, who's 26, said, I could have picked another place to work who would pay me way more. By the way, I am paying her a competitive salary, but not like in the financial services. She said, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't work for someone in a place where my values were challenged, where there was no value alignment. So, and she had never said that to me before. It came out of this exercise. And I took that to heart. She would, and because when I started the business too, as an entrepreneur, I actually reduced my profit margins on a lot of my core organic and recycled products in order to drive those SKUs and to drive business, knowing that later on there'd be more demand and I would make it up in demand. So it wasn't just about the profit, although you always have to be profitable as a business, and anybody who's ever heard me speak, especially the wetsuit people, say always make profit. You need profit, otherwise you don't have a platform to stand on. But that value alignment and that quality of life is really important. And I agree, though, it's really hard to keep younger people in Westchester, to offer them good opportunities, because they have New York City down there, and it not only offers a social environment, but there's a tremendous pull to go down to the city. And we're always fighting that. So you have to really, you have to dig into that quality of life, which I think, at least in my mind, is an overarching piece of green. It's about how you live, what you do on a daily basis, because you don't need, well, I won't get into the conversation what you need to live, but in terms of making your choices and buying more concentrated products, and I mean that in terms of durability and usage and whatever, you actually are saving. And if our money isn't going out the door to clean up the mess that some very large corporate members have created, look at the quality of life we can have, and they get that.
So Sharon represents obviously a very, I don't want to call you traditional, but traditionally green company. In other words, your company would always have been labeled green. So I want to talk now to Sarah. And you were speaking about employees that share values, and I want to bring up this amazing slide we have of your green team, which we love, because you all look wonderful next to that tree. And I just want to talk about, because Agera Energy, it's an energy company. You do now offer a green product, which is wonderful, but I wouldn't call you a traditional, green company in a lot of ways, but you've managed to incorporate sustainability into job functions across the organization, which I think is a great case study just for us to hear a little bit more about. So I'm showing your green team here, and this doesn't just happen. So can you tell us a little bit about how this started and how you ended up
Sure.
doing this? Thank you.
It actually all started as a part of the Westchester Green Business Challenge, which was, it was beneficial for us as an organization all around. Like I said earlier, we now have a green product, Agera Pure Wind, but now we've also incorporated sustainability into our jobs, starting with our job descriptions for new employees. We've also incorporated an environmental policy into our employee handbook. So whenever a new employee starts, not only is environmental sustainability in our job descriptions, but they're also signing off on it as a part of their employee onboarding process. When we implemented this was obviously new for the rest of our employees within the organization. So what we did was we built on our communications, our corporate communications, and started just literally telling everybody everything that we've been doing as part of the green team. We created what we called an Agera Green Team seal, and we started sticking that everywhere, from every individual recycle bin under everybody's desk into the conference rooms, everything. So we really took this challenge and just basically took it into our organization, made it our own, and got everybody involved, from the green team to our leadership team, all the way down to our receptionists at the front desk. So it was fun.
Yeah, and that's really been key to a lot of companies' success in our program. And I actually have your environmental policy up on the screen because, and what I like to highlight is the fact that these two paragraphs, it starts with all employees, and all employees will strive to continually improve our environmental performance. So by not making it one person's job, a lot of organizations these days, especially larger ones, it's popular to have a director of sustainability or someone who really spearheads these efforts. But we've found organizations to be the most successful when they disperse the responsibilities and they really have a team effort. So we're all about the green team, and that's why it just makes us so happy to see these really what we just put on paper, in the real world and actually making a difference in your organization. So we're just delighted to hear about that. But, and I believe you also incorporated into your HR training materials as well, didn't you do?
Absolutely. It's part of our onboarding process. This way, every new hire that we have, whether it's someone in Texas, someone in Illinois, across the 16 states that we are licensed in, everyone knows what our mission is, what our vision is with sustainability. And it's really important to us to keep that message going strong. So letting everybody know at the onset of employment what we are and who we stand for is really important to us.
So those changes, those changes started here in Westchester.
Absolutely.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm going to kind of skip around. I had some questions, but Lori, I want to talk to you now just because I would really like to hear your perspective just from the academic side of things. And we've heard now from a couple private businesses and Marcia who kind of gave us the overview. Can you tell us, I mean, what are you hearing from students out there? I mean, you work with students, you run these programs for Kaplan University. How do they view careers or, you know, in the green economy? I mean, what are you training students to do? I mean, what
All good questions. So the thing that we hear from students is the perennial problem that we've heard, from students since the beginning of time, which is that employers want to hire people with experience. How do I get experience if I haven't worked for an environmental employer? And the other thing I hear that employers want, of course, nowadays especially, are people who can do things. They don't want people who can just think things, who are book smart but not world-wise. And our students are very much educated in developing solutions to real-world problems within real-world constraints. Many of us went to a school at a time when there's sort of more of an ivory tower within the university. There was very much a separation between dedicated career educators and what was happening in the business community. Unfortunately, I think we've done a good job at Kaplan in sort of bringing that together, in that the instructors that are teaching students are people who are working out in the field in various capacities.